Hi everyone, the Great Gatsby and the decline of the American dream, but also the point of view is so important regarding modernity and the modern age. We continue with our lectures for the fourth year and modernity and across the Atlantic to the American landscape. What kind of point of view? We talked about the jazz age in the previous lectures. When we come to Great Gatsby, we have the first narrator. And the point of view is actually by that kind of narrator, who is Nick Carraway, and he is from the Midwest. The Mid West and the East Coast. I mean, this kind of geographical. Actually, it's not only geography; it's also that kind of cultural division within the American society. We talk about a kind of somebody who has fought for freedom in the Second World War. And with here, it means that we talk about certain values and facing with these kind of values, facing some other, the decline of these values and a kind of, you know, that highly reliable morality of the society is coming into a kind of different standards for and different judgment on others. When we talk about the outsider, because Nick is coming from the outside of that city, so he's the outsider. So his judgment will be a kind of objective judgment. And actually, he never judges others. He refrains from judging others, but he can see, he can see the story. He can see he can also make kind of comments for what is happening. I mean, for that social scene. The plot of The Great Gatsby, it isn't, I mean, difficult. It's a love story. We have a kind of lavish parties, and then we have the meeting of of Gatsby and his beloved, his lost love, Daisy. Nothing on the surface is a very beautiful story, but when we come to the climax, when we come to that kind of reunion between those lovers, we are going to discover that the lover is not a real lover. And that kind of loyalty, that kind of fidelity is becoming, these becoming the issues here. Those people who are only social climbers, while we are going to have a kind of a romantic person living with that set of values for the American with the 20s, unable to understand who is his beloved and his girlfriend. So kind of rejection of that Gatsby, the new Gatsby, the new money that he earns, somebody who's coming from nowhere, only with the dollar. Because the social climber like Daisy, she still believes in the old money, that kind of aristocracy, with despite the hypocrisy within the image of that kind, and that is Tom, her husband. When we talk about the crime and the murder, it's all having that kind of connection with the cultural values that has been decayed with that novel. So the themes are love as a result of self-deception and denial. The American dream is becoming corrupt and futile. The desire of wealth and power that are replacing all these standards of morality. One man step in the same river cannot be repeated, shouldn't be repeated. Appearances are deceiving. All these they are the themes not only for this Great Gatsby novel, but also the theme for the American landscape during the 20s. And there are so many quotes of this in this novel. To mine own be true. It's from Hamlet, and this can be also applied here. Moving on is simple, but what you leave behind that makes it so difficult. That kind of conflict between the present and the past, and this very much has been reflected by Gatsby's character and all the rumors about his past. He used to be like coming a student coming from that Ivory universities, or he has no degree whatsoever. I mean, they don't know who is Gatsby, and all that info about him, about his, about his life, they all comes like rumors, nothing true about them, as if he's a man from nowhere, and his money is illegitimate money. So whatever here, that America that is coming out of uprooted roots with the real dream, with the real American dream. So when we come to Nick living in the neighborhood of Gatsby, because Nick represents kind of the point of view of an outsider with, I mean, not being represent, not being a kind of this society here. He's representing the real American view. He's representing the one who is very much connected to the real American dream. He's the one who is very much respected by all the other characters, and he is the bridge to make them in one, to make them reunited in one. We leave the novel also with the with these, with these symbolisms that is presenting one thing, America, and all the cultural conflicts that coming through it. So I mean, through those decades, especially when the dollar is representing that colonial power that has been lost forever. The green light, for example, the Valley of Ashes, the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, which we can find on many of the cover books of the novel. They all represent something hopeful, and they represent, like for example, the green light. Gatsby can see the green light from the daisies. East egg dock from a different, a different part of the city, but he's looking to it as if he's looking to that dream, a quest. This represents Gatsby's quest for Daisy represents broadly associated with the American quest of their America dream. The light symbolizes that kind of idol, and that kind of, more than lovers, but the idea of, the idea of history. So green represents how America is rising from the ocean as the place of settlers, the place of the nation, the new nation. When we come to the crime that happens in the Valley of Ashes, this is a kind of the Valley of Ashes. This is taken from the Bible itself. Ashes, ashes from the ashes. While we are living in a very secular age. So what we have here, we have the idea that we are coming back to the roots. This is a place where death is happening. This is a place where the corruption, moral corruption, is happening between West Egg and the New York City, and it is a kind of desolate land where dumping industrial ashes are being there. So the moral and social decay results from this uninhabited ashes. It's actually representing the wealth and the self-indulgence with one's own pleasure. It represents that decay of the society. So the Valley of Ashes symbolizes the plight of the poor, like George Olson and his wife, the one who was being killed after being used as as only a mistress. So what we have here, we have the dirty of the ashes, and this is only the result of what is happening with that American dream. When we talk about the eyes of the Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, which is only a pair of fading glasses, and those painted on an old advertising billboard over the Valley of Ashes, they may represent, according to the author, God or fate, whatever. I mean, stirring down upon American society, judging American society, the moral wasteland also can be the moral wasteland throughout the novel. So Fitzgerald, he says, just this kind of symbol to have meaning, to install the characters with much more symbolism. I mean, they are not only stereotypes, but are representing, as I said, some of cultural values of the society. So God exists. That doctor representing, the scientific advancements also exists, and they all, I mean, comes with that George Wilson's grief strike in mind. Is this God? The eyes of God looking at us? A lack of concrete significance contributes to the unsettled nature of the image itself. So the eyes also can represent meaninglessness in this world and arbitrariness of the mental process by people. They are not only losing their dream, but they are losing their consciousness of their life, of the society, of the culture. Nick explores these ideas and how can we be connected to the roots of the American dream and to the right path for the American society. Gatsby's final thoughts are depressed consideration of the emptiness of symbols and dreams, while Nick's thoughts always by bridging those cultural conflicts and trying to go back to whatever represents the American dream. So it's a kind of decline and it's a kind of rebirth for all the real American values in human history. Thank you very much and looking forward for sharing more lectures.